I think it's for the first time that the speaker has decided retrospectively as to whether in this kind of a scenario who should be the right political party, original political party, and so on and so forth. So that being the case, I do believe that this is a landmark judgment. This, I think, will set the law with regards to defection, because a lot of new issues have been dealt with. I believe that politics in Maharashtra is very, very cultured. You perhaps have differences on certain issues, on political stands, but beyond that, whether it is a leader from the other side or a leader within your party, you share a cordial relationship. And that's the political culture of Maharashtra.
Is there anything that you are hoping to achieve in the next few years? Any target or dream that you're currently working towards?
I'm looking forward to making Colaba the best constituency, not only in India, but in Asia at least.
You South Bombay or Alibag?
Whew.
Hello and welcome to Politically Speaking by Lokatantra, where we make politics personal. Our guest today is the Speaker of the Maharashtra Assembly and also the MLA from Colaba. Thank you so much for joining us here today, sir. We know you're very busy with your campaign schedule, but we really appreciate it.
So we would like to start with your childhood. So your father, Mr. Suresh Narwekar, was a municipal councillor. So was that like basically how did you end up getting into politics, and was there a lot of politics at home?
Well, my father served as municipal corporator for Colaba for almost 27 years. And yes, I used to be a part of his campaign, and from early age I did understand the nuances of public life. But the atmosphere at home was very apolitical. My father was more into social service, and he still does his social service. So politics was never per se perceived the way it is perceived today. It was always perceived as a means of ensuring that you deliver justice to the person at the right at the bottom end. Not that it is not today. Today also people do serve people diligently, but the values and the ethos were very different then, I believe. So it was partial. I can say that partially it was because of the early age exposure to public life. But as I grew up, I knew that to make a difference in the society, you'll have to be a part of the system. And therefore, right since my college days, I was inclined towards politics. I was active in public life.
You were a spokesperson then for the...
So I was the spokesperson in somewhere around 2008.
Okay.
And I had contested the first assembly election in 2004 at the age of about 27.
Wow, that is very young.
That's very young.
So that's how I started my electoral political journey.
So that was from the Shiv Sena, right?
No.
And then you went to the NCP, and now you're in the BJP. So how would you define, like, what made your decision to join the BJP?
So to be very honest, my ideology and my thought process was always inclined towards the ideology, so-called right, if you call it right wing.
Yeah.
And so that's how it started. And then there were certain differences within the party and the leadership in 2014. And I made a choice then, but I don't know whether I was not comfortable with that choice.
Yeah.
And I always knew that my real quest or my real calling was with the ideology of the Bharatiya Janata Party.
Okay.
And so I finally got an opportunity to serve the Bharatiya Janata Party and the people through as a representative of the Bharatiya Janata Party. So that was one of my, you could say, that was what I was always wanting to do.
Okay. And like you said that growing up, the atmosphere at home was apolitical. but now even your in-laws are all in politics. So is that also political, or like what are the dinner conversations like, or just in general? I mean, what are the conversations like?
Well, you're right that my in-laws are also in public life. My father-in-law has been a minister for about 25 years. He's been the chairman of the Legislative Council, and they are deeply enrooted in the politics of Western Maharashtra. But we try to keep it apolitical as possible when it comes to
At home.
home or home affairs. So we don't discuss politics much, but we do respect each other's space, political space. I believe that politics in Maharashtra is very, very cultured. You perhaps have differences on certain issues, on political stands, but beyond that, whether it is a leader from the other side or a leader within your party, you share a cordial relationship. And that's the political culture of Maharashtra.
Yeah.
So in this rich culture, who or which leader do you think has had the most influence in your life? And what have you learned, like one lesson from them that you may have learned?
If you see the trend today, politics is changing a lot. Politics is attracting a lot of youth. Politics is attracting qualified, educated, talented youth. Politics is attracting good administrators. And I truly believe that if the country has to go forward, like Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji has said, that the youth has to play a large role, a big role. And the youth leadership that this state found in the form of Devendra Fadnavis ji is exceptional. If you look at his journey, the way he started, the manner in which he conducted himself, the manner in which he led in an exemplary manner, these are things which have had an impact on the minds of the youth. And I truly believe he is an ideal example for the youth who are inclined towards public life.
Okay.
That is, yeah. So to talk a little bit about your role, you are the Speaker of the Maharashtra Assembly, which is a extremely well-respected position. Can you tell us a little bit about what that entails? What does it mean to be the Speaker of the House?
Well, I'm still trying to figure out. So it's a big responsibility. At the end of the day, you are there are 13 crore people in Maharashtra who are represented by 288 legislators in the state assembly. And there is one speaker who delivers justice not only to 288 members, but to the people whom they represent. That's 13 crore people of Maharashtra. So I think it's a big responsibility. You have to win the trust and confidence of the entire house, because the house is the temple of democracy which delivers justice. And if you don't enjoy the confidence of the members of that house, it won't be possible to give justice to the people of Maharashtra.
But is it difficult to be unbiased even though you belong to a certain party? Like, it must be, I mean...
Well, the perception is that the speaker or the presiding officer cannot always remain neutral or perhaps unbiased, but I don't think so. I think this is a wrong perception. Speaker, once he assumes his chair, he is conscious about the fact that he has to lead 288 members and not just the ruling alliance.
Sure.
And if you're conscious about that, if you know your constitutional obligations, because the ramifications of being biased would be far more than just being unfair to one side. It would affect the functioning of parliamentary democracy. And if there's any compromise with parliamentary democracy, existence of parliamentary democracy, I think the effect of that would be unbelievable. It would be very disastrous. So I'm conscious about this fact. And in my role as the Speaker of the Legislative Assembly, I can vouch and I can say it with full confidence that whatever I have done till date, whenever I have led the House as the Speaker, I have done it consciously by being fair and just to every member of the House.
How is someone selected to play this role, sir?
So normally the perception was that normally a speaker is someone who serves in the assembly for 4, 5, 6, 7 terms. He's a senior member, experienced member. But like I told you, Bharatiya Janata Party is a party with a difference. So when they decided to nominate me as their candidate for the speaker's post, they perhaps looked at the credentials of the individual. They looked at the merit. They looked whether the individual had the knowledge of the House proceedings. They saw the intent of the individual to serve, and they decided. So I had earlier served one term in the Legislative Council, and then this was my first term in the Legislative Assembly. But I was picked as the choice for speaker. And I think this is very encouraging for the youth in the country and in the state, where you need not have a huge political experience or background, but you can still occupy constitutional posts which are very, very important. And if you have the merit, if you have the zest of leading and performing for the state, you can be a choice.
So what does a typical day in your life look like? You have so many different responsibilities that you're juggling simultaneously, not during election time, but on a regular day. What does it mean to be Rahul Narwekar?
So I think if you enjoy what you do, then your day is very smooth. Because then you're always looking forward to doing what you have to do. And so the day starts in the morning with a good breakfast, a little bit of workout whenever possible, and always waiting to get to office and get going with the day. So I try and visit the assembly and my chamber at least thrice a week. I've carried out a lot of transformative work in the Vidhan Bhavan and in the legislature. I've taken up a huge program of digitalization of the entire records of the State Assembly and Council from 1937. So this is a very big exercise we've undertaken. So we are trying to make the legislature paperless. So at the click of the button, you'll have the records from 1937 to date, all the debates, all the records, all the legislation that have been enacted, all the speeches that have been made, the bills that have been passed. So everything will be on record, on a click of a button. So we do that, and I spend a bit of time in the assembly, in the state legislature. And then, of course, I devote at least 3 hours a day to my constituency. So in the evenings from 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock, I'm in my constituency. So typically it's I would say a 14-hour day at least.
I would.
And
You got in very late last night.
Yes. So of course, during elections, it's 18-hour day.
And we've also heard that you're extremely connected to every voter or every citizen of your constituency.
Very well popular in the area for being very accessible. I've only heard that you're on WhatsApp, very quick to solve any issues that people come to you with. In fact, even for this interview, it is one of the quickest confirmations where we got, and we really appreciated that. So clearly the work that you're putting in is definitely bearing fruit with.
So I feel that a public representative represents his constituents. So unless you're in touch with them, how would you know what are their pain points? How would you address them? And how would you work towards a resolution? So it's very important for you to be connected to the constituents. And at the end of the day, this is not something which they have asked you to do. You have gone to them and asked them for their mandate to represent them. So I think it is the duty of every public representative to be connected to his constituents and not make them feel that they only need you once in 5 years.
Absolutely. The speaker's position so far was, I think this is the first time, or you might be one of the most famous speakers that Maharashtra has had.
Well, I would like to believe so.
I think the perception was it was a post to accommodate someone kind of, but now like I think the state has understood how much importance
the position has.
So I always believe that the speaker's position is extremely paramount for smooth functioning of the house and the state.
Yeah.
Because if the speaker cannot keep the confidence of the house and deal with the house in the appropriate manner, the repercussions will be suffered by the state and by the people of the state, because then there won't be debates, there won't be good debates, there won't be debates on bills which are passed, which affect the people at large, and the people's voice will not be heard, because at the end of the day, in parliamentary democracy, the assembly is a house where the voice of the general public is actually, you voice the concerns of the general public. And if you don't get to speak, or if you're not given an opportunity, or if you do not get to express your mind in the house, you won't be able to represent your constituents, and that will be unfair. So I think the speaker's role is very, very important to maintain decorum as well as the smooth functioning of the entire state.
So in May 2023, you were tasked by the Supreme Court with this extremely important role of deciding on the disqualification of 34 MLAs that emerged from the two factions of the Sena. Tell us a little bit about what you were going through, what you were thinking during this time. Did you turn to anybody or anything for guidance? It was a huge mantle that was placed on your shoulders.
There wasn't a mandate from the courts to decide the disqualification. That is the constitutional obligation, or perhaps duty, of the speaker to decide decide disqualification petitions. The Supreme Court had, perhaps there was some litigation in the Supreme Court based on which the Supreme Court had ruled that the speaker should decide in a time-bound manner and finally take a call. And they'd also given some guidelines that while deciding, the Constitution mandates the speaker to look at these things. And of course, that was a guiding force. The Supreme Court, I must express my gratitude towards the Supreme Court for being a guiding force while deciding this matter. And the judgment which I have, or the order which I have delivered, is completely in consonance with the directives given by the Supreme Court, the guidelines given by the Supreme Court, the disqualification of members on the grounds of defection rules 1986, the Constitution and the Schedule 10. I've squarely applied my mind to all these things, and I've given a sustainable and legally tenable order. Of course, like you said, it was a very big responsibility, and this, I think, will set the law with regards to defection, because a lot of new issues have been dealt with. I think it's for the first time that the speaker has decided retrospectively as to whether, in this kind of a scenario, who should be the right political party, original political party, and so on and so forth. So that being the case, I do believe that this is a landmark judgment, which is of course under challenge in the Supreme Court. But I'm very, very sure that the order given by me is reasoned, is well reasoned, is sustainable, and legally tenable. And therefore, there'll be no issues with regards to the same. And I'm sure the Supreme Court will uphold the same.
And in the middle of all this drama, you also went on a UK tour where you spoke at the Ideas for India conference and the Cambridge University students. So could you tell us a little more about...
So I do remember that I was invited to the Cambridge University to deliver an address on an issue. I think it was with regards to the Constitution. And I was also attending some other functions of the CPA. And the day I left the country and landed at the airport at Heathrow, at that very moment, the Supreme Court was delivering its judgment on the challenge before the Supreme Court on the disqualification matter. So I was actually, I do remember watching the judgment online while I was traveling from the airport to the hotel. So that was quite interesting.
Yeah.
And I think, I believe that you have to fulfill the responsibilities you've been entrusted with. But your life cannot stop with that. Because you've been given an important task or a challenging task, that does not mean that you don't do your other functions or duties or responsibilities. So, as the speaker, I was required to attend the CPA conference. I was required to attend to my obligations to the international community or institutions, which I took forth then as well. So, if you're clear in your mind and if you have a clear understanding of the subject, and if you're confident that whatever you're doing is your conscience is clear, then I don't think there's any kind of pressure. You can do your other duties along with the special task you have been assigned.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, aside from work, now moving towards what you do in your free time, what is it that you like to do to unwind after these, on the days that you have 14 hours and not 18 hours?
So, I like to take my getaways to. So I have a house at Alibag. So whenever I get the time, I like to take off and spend some time at the farm and perhaps be in the nature.
Yeah.
I think that's what one desperately needs once he is engrossed in public life. You need some time for yourself. So I like traveling. I like catching up with friends, a bit of sport.
Are you a sports
Which
person?
sport? Yeah, which sport?
I used to play a lot of tennis and badminton as well. I don't get my hand at it that often now, but yeah, I used to be an active sports person when I was
Nice.
having the time.
Do you have a favorite tennis player?
Well, everyone's good. It's very difficult nowadays. There's so much of talent,
Yeah.
but everyone's good. I mean, I wouldn't want to single out.
Single out any one person. Are you a foodie?
Well, I'm a major foodie. It shows nowadays, actually. So,
Any particular place in Colaba that you really like frequenting?
I have my picks. My constituency is a foodie constituency.
It is absolutely.
We've got many cow gullies. We've got the best of dosas on the streets. We've got the best of pani puri on the streets. We have the best of restaurants in
Some of the best
in Mumbai. And I'm very fond of Japanese cuisine. So wasabi is one of my favorites.
To be a favorite,
we
like
have actually received this answer from almost every single person we have interviewed till now.
that wasabi is
So
their
it is-
favorite.
yeah. It's one of my favorites as well. It's a great drink. So, okay, that is. What about movie songs? What is your favorite?
I like to watch movies, though I don't get to see much of them. But yeah, I am.
If you had to pick one favorite movie,
Yeah, any favorite movie or a particular, something that has
Something that
stuck
has
with
stuck
you.
with you.
Yeah.
The last movie I've seen is about a year back.
oh really?
Which one was that?
I think it was. Actually that movie was. It was a Main Atal who it was actually. We had shown it to the legislators in the state assembly in the central hall.
Got it.
So I think it was a well-made movie. It showed the struggle of how a nationalist individual can transform the country and his dedication and passion towards the country, and how he builds his political life with this thought in mind.
No, lovely. Okay, so now I'm going to give you a bunch of internet terminologies, some Gen Z lingo, and see if you're familiar with them at all. No cap.
No cap. So you want me to
I want you
to When take would the I-
best guess of what it means.
no cap? Perhaps you're not wearing a cap.
To be honest, even I don't know what this means.
No
actually.
cap means no lies.
No lies.
No lies. What about SM8?
Well, all these terminologies will be answered by my 9-year-old. She knows them pit pat because they keep mentioning that, and I have no clue about what they're talking about.
So today you can try them with her later on in the day.
Maybe, so, like, I think you'll know TTYL.
TTYL.
TTYL is talk to you later. And SMH is so much hate.
I don't know one. That's FYI.
Fair enough. But that is like a more
Formal. That's more on WhatsApp and your.
correct. Yeah. Okay, we'll try one more. Bet.
Bet. I'm very bad at this.
Bet is just like yes.
Okay.
Like if
You bet.
like that. Okay, and now to our this or that segment. Tea or coffee?
That coffee.
Coffee, movies or web series?
Movies.
Vada pav or misal pav?
Very difficult. Both.
Sweet or spicy?
Sweet.
Test cricket or IPL?
IPL.
Virat Kohli or Rohit Sharma?
Virat Kohli or I think Rohit.
Rohit?
Mumbai Capitals.
Legislative Assembly or Legislative Council?
Legislative Assembly.
The question was Bandra or South Bombay, but we'll switch it up for you. South Bombay or Alibag?
Who? Election time South Mumbai, otherwise Alibag.
And is there any one thing that you're superstitious about before an election? Is there any mandir that you go to or something that you wear on election day or a
Not really, but I do go to Siddhivinayak temple whenever I can.
Yeah.
And so we have this one segment in this podcast where we call it the ballot box. So I'll just show it.
You pull out a chit and
Yeah.
you give it to us. And
Yeah, so you can mix it up and basically दरवेळी आपण लोकांची मतं मागायला जातो. So we want to hear your
Opinion
worth on this.
thank you. Collector's land.
So the collector's land issue is a very, very important issue in my constituency. Basically, most of the buildings which have been constructed in Marine Drive, Cuff Parade are buildings where the land belongs to the state government and it has been given on lease to the developers or societies back then. Of course, the full lease premium was recovered from them, was taken from them. But now the government has come with a scheme for conversion of this leasehold land to freehold land. So from leasehold, you become a full owner of the land.
Okay.
So a lot of societies were very keen on getting this done. Landlords were keen on getting this done.
Yeah.
But the premium was extremely high. So the government was charging 25% of the ready reckoner value.
Okay.
So a lot of my constituents came up to me for the last 2.5 years. I took up this issue with the government. We had several meetings with the revenue minister, with the chief minister, with the deputy chief minister. And finally, we were very successful in bringing down this premium to 10% for development through a developer and 5% for redevelopment by the society itself, housing society itself. So that has given substantial relief, but we still find it a little exorbitant. And it is my endeavorance to ensure that I bring this premium down to 2%.
Okay. And to conclude, is there any advice that you would give the younger generation of politicians?
I think Mahatma Gandhi has given the right advice to each individual in this country. Be the change you want to see. So if the youth wants to see a better India, if the youth wants to see a well-administered India, if the youth wants to see good opportunities, if they want to see a cleaner country, if they want to see, the benefits of having a good developed country, then they should be a part of the system. And to be a part of the system, they should not keep themselves away from politics. Politics is not just, like people say, it's a cesspool and other things, but I don't think so. I think politics is very, very healthy for creating a good society.
Absolutely. And is there anything that you are hoping to achieve in the next few years? Any target or dream that you're currently working towards?
I'm looking forward to making Colaba the best constituency not only in India but in Asia at least.
Okay.
We are coming up with some very good ideas for Colaba. We're coming up with a special at Kalagoda. We are creating the Heritage Walk.
Yes.
At Darman Point, we are getting a laser show and creating new access roads to access the coastal road from NCPA to Colaba Cuff Parade. We are resolving the water crisis in this constituency. A lot of things in the pipeline. And my immediate task or goal would be to ensure that Colaba becomes a world-class area.
Yeah. And as the last question, like till now in your tenure, whatever work you've done, what do you think has given you the most amount of satisfaction?
When I see legislators or when I experience legislators across party lines come up to me and mention that thank you for giving me this opportunity and you've been very fair. I feel that I've delivered the constitutional obligation I've been tasked with.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your time.